What's up, guys? Wild Bill here. I'm bringing you an explanation of the any percent run on Ocarina of Time. This guy that you see in the video is Skater. He's the one that actually did this initial video that we're watching together, not me. I'm not the speedrunner, but I watch his Twitch stream periodically, and I'm interested in speedruns, and I've got to research how these glitches work so I can understand what's happening when it's going. And I've tried and mostly failed to execute a few of these things. The amount of time and practice these guys have put into these things are really impressive. But when I first started watching speedruns, I couldn't understand what was going on, especially with Zelda, because it's so fast, so many glitches, just one right after the other. So I couldn't understand the route very well, and after researching the glitches and how they do everything, I had a lot more appreciation for it, so that's why I'm explaining this. So, let's get started. This is an any percent run, which means you complete any percent of the game. It's just fastest time from selecting the file to last hit on Ganon. Any kind of glitch is allowed, any sequence breaks, you can skip whatever part of the game you want, it doesn't matter. If that's not your style of thing, some people, they watch a speedrun like this and it leaves them wanting something because they skip so much of the game. You should check out some other categories of speedruns. We have what's called an MST route, which stands for Medallion Stones Trials. You have to get all the medallions, you have to get the 3 stones, and you have to beat all of Ganon's trials. There's also glitchless runs, 100% runs, so if this leaves you wanting something, check out those other categories. They might be more your style. Now, there's a lot of different glitches going on in this game, so there's going to be points where I'm going to pause the video and kind of talk for a little bit, because a lot of them happen really fast, one after the other. I'm assuming everyone watching has played Ocarina of Time, or seen someone play Ocarina of Time, or is at least familiar. If not, no big deal. We don't, most of what we're about to see wasn't intended by the developers at all to ever happen. So it's not like we'll be spoiling much of the story or anything, but I'm just assuming everyone's played these dungeons and whatnot. But I'm also assuming you don't know much about speedruns. You might know 1 or 2 of the names of these different glitches, but not how they work. And I'm going to go through and explain all of them, except for the wrong warp or Ganondorf glitch. I'm going to just mention kind of the setup for that, but that's a really sophisticated, complex glitch. And if people are interested in that, let me know in the comments. I'll make another video that explains in depth how a wrong warp goes down. But we're going to kind of gloss over that, because otherwise we'll be here too long. Sometimes I wonder how many hours I've spent just watching this cutscene, this intro here. Played this game so much, or watched Twitch streams of other people playing it so much. You should try and do some of this stuff sometime, even not the glitches, just load up the game sometime and try and do the first 30 seconds of this. The way that they move and commit all this muscle memory, the amount of time, dedication, practice that must go into these is incredible. I think when this video was recorded, he had already been grinding runs for 4 hours straight. And since the run only takes roughly 20 minutes, and usually if you fail the run, you might restart earlier. Like if you mess something up in the first 5 minutes, you just restart. So he's been doing it for a long time, just this day that this was recorded. Now, when this video was recorded, this was the world record for the any percent run. Same guy, Skater, has actually beaten that record now, and the new record is 17 minutes 45 seconds. So after you watch this, I encourage you to check that out. Now here he's backwalking, because in Ocarina and Majora's Mask, backwalking is faster than forward walking for some reason. I don't think the developers intended that to be your primary mode of travel, but they must have made it faster for some reason. Probably just to dodge enemy blows. But if you line it up right and you backwalk, it's faster than walking forwards and rolling. So then he did that little side hop to the left to get 5 rupees there. He needs to get 40 rupees to get the shield. And then he also needs to get the sword so that he can get to the Dacre tree and get past Mido. Mido just makes sure you've got a sword and a shield, and there you go. Now, the old any percent route didn't even get a sword. However, because of the changes to the route, it's actually faster to get a sword now because there's a point where he's going to have to leave the Dacre tree and then come back. And Mito skip is really, really tricky, and doing it twice, it's faster just to get the sword. So he just got a couple of rupees there and there. In those signs and everything, those are the little tutorial text. Now, I'm just going to pause here so I can explain what's about to happen. Those signs there are the little tutorial text, and you get rupees for like doing the side slash at the right point or that side hop in the backflip. So those are where those ones came from. Now what he's going to do here is he's going to jump off that fence and jump slash in midair, which is going to give him just enough height to clip up onto that little bridge. He's not supposed to be able to jump up there, but the jump slash gives him just enough height to do it. And that gives him those 5 rupees without having to go all the way around. So there, he got 5 more, and he gets his last 5 in this little corner in the back. I didn't even know those were there until I started watching speedruns. But there is the Deku shield, so now he's got his sword and his shield, and he's going to go talk to Mito and then talk to the tree. Nothing too interesting is going to happen for the next few seconds. Now there, he actually lost a little bit of time. He could, if you line it up right, you can jump just along those little islands in the water there and not go into the water, so he lost a second or two. I don't recall if he makes that in the actual world record now, or what's now the world record, or if he doesn't. And notice he took damage there. He did not do that by accident, not by any means. Now, here he jump slashed there just as the cutscene was starting and recoiled against the wall, which is why he was moving so quick into the cutscene, and he's a little further forward when the cutscene ends, and it saves him, I don't know, half a second. Also, you may have noticed that it's in Japanese. The Japanese version is faster because you spend less time waiting for text boxes. The text scrolls faster. It's the only reason that Japanese is used. So now this is where things are going to start getting a little more interesting. We're about to see our first complicated glitch. Well, before that, normally Navi jumps out there and talks to you and tells you, hey, you can climb up this wall, but he pulls out his sword at exactly the right frame when Navi would do that, and it skips it. Now, what's going to happen here is first he's going to get what's called ISG, and he uses that a lot in this run, so I'm going to stop and explain what that is. ISG stands for Infinite Sword Glitch, and Infinite Sword sounds weird because it's not like infinite arrows and you have a bunch of arrows, but what it means is that the sword, when you're swinging it and it's like able to hit things, it gets locked in that state, and the game gets it stuck in that state. He's going to do a crouch stab and then interrupt it with text by Z-targeting one of those Skulltulas and then having Navi talk to him. By doing that, the sword, you'll see it's kind of glowing, and it's locked in that state of about to hit something. So then, while his sword's out, if he's got that, anything he touches, it's like he's getting hit with the sword. I'm going to pause here before you see the next part, because ISG has a bunch of weird properties. The game's set up so that while you're slashing your sword, you can't fall off edges. So since you're locked in that state of swinging your sword, you can't fall off, you won't auto jump off of edges, you won't fall off of edges, and you're about to see him get stuck on a kind of weird edge. He gets stuck on top of the Skulltula and then jumps out, and that allows him to break the web. However, there was, for a frame or two, a little thing where he's standing there. And because he's got ISG, now he's stuck there, floating in midair. And he equips the thing there, but you see he's floating in midair there. So if he jumps, like if he does a side hop or a backflip or something, then he'll fall down, but until then he's just stuck in midair. And he's only able to like turn. So he side hops over and swings his sword, which gives him enough recoil to skip the whole first basement of the dungeon. Normally you land in the water, and I'm trying to find a spot where I can show you the water. Well, normally you land in the water and there's a whole section of the dungeon you have to do, but he doesn't have to do that because he used that B1 skip, the basement 1 skip. So here, something a lot of people don't really understand is going on. First, he's just going to go get fire to break that web. But those enemies have a 1 in 5 chance of dropping a Deku Nut, which is what he needs for this trick. So he times it just right so that he's got 1 alive and those 2 dead. Now there's a 1 in 5 chance that one of those 2 is going to drop a Deku Nut. He can't kill all 3 for this trick, but he's going to use another complicated trick called Get Item Manipulation. So you'll see the Deku Nut drop right there. Now he goes back into the hole and comes out, and then it's locked in that little thing where the camera is locked there, but he gets the item. Because he was just coming out of that tunnel and got the item before it came out of the locked camera, it doesn't pause the whole game. The bad guy's still able to move, and the bad guy hits him. So now, he was in that state where the Deku Nut's up above his head and he's just about to get it, and he's gotten stuck in that state because the game was supposed to be set up so that you can't get hit by enemies or anything when you're picking up a new item for the first time, whether it's coming out of a treasure chest or whatever, everything pauses. But because he came out of that tunnel to get the item, the enemy was still able to move, and then when the enemy hit him, now he's able to move, and he's stuck in this about to get the item state. So that's why he's got a nut on his face. And the reason that that's important, that he wants to get stuck in that state, is that somewhere in the game's memory inside the console, because the console is a computer, so it's got RAM and it doesn't have a hard drive, but it's got RAM and all of that. Somewhere in the RAM, when you're in that state of about to get an item, there's a little buffer that stores a number which is associated with your item. And each item has a different number. And then that spot actually has different things that can affect it. So when you walk next to a chest, it will overwrite that value. So he walks next to that chest, and it changes the value in that little buffer. He does the B1 skip again, gets the recoil, jumps down, and now, when he enters the water, something crazy happens. Now, he got the Deku Nuts. He's got those in his inventory. But he's also got a bottle with a blue potion in it. And that's going to be really important later on. The whole point of this setup that he just did is he needs a bottle to do the wrong warp, the Ganondorf, the thing that lets you skip almost the entire game. But he had to use that Get Item Manipulation. So because he got himself in that state of about to get an item, and then walked past the chest, which changed the value in that buffer, he got both the bottle with a blue potion and the Deku Nuts. So that was one of the changes that from the old any percent route to this, where they figured out how to do that, so now they don't have to escape the forest, go to Carico, and get a bottle there. So here, he does his 2-3-1. If you ever tried to do 2-3-1 fast, it's a lot harder than it looks. So in here, he's going to go in and fight Goma. You may notice he's at half a heart. That is on purpose. And you'll see why in just a second. This Goma fight is going to be incredibly fast. Pauses here and equips his nuts, and there's the bottle. Now notice he never got the slingshot. So he can't use that to stun Goma if Goma gets away from him. So he's going to have to use just the Deku Nuts to stun Goma. Stuns him right away, hits him, stuns him again, hits him, and then jump slashes so that he takes damage too. They both die at exactly the same time, him and Goma. So Goma's death cutscene goes first, and then as soon as that's over, Link's death cutscene is going to go. There's a reason for that. It's called a death warp or a die warp. Basically, you die so that you can come back to life somewhere else. So he'll go back to the entrance to the Deku Tree. Now, the next trick that's coming up is called the Ganondorf, or the Wrong Warp. In order to do that, you need a bottle, and it has to have either bugs or fish. It's theoretically possible with a fairy, but it's way harder. Because you need to have the bottle in your hand to do the Ocarina items glitch, which will be coming up shortly. In order to do a wrong warp, wait, alright, well, first I'll explain that. That's called a super slide. He bounced off, and then he has to hold his controller in a very precise precision, and he'll just keep sliding like that. I think he does at least one or two more of those throughout the run. But that's one of the speedrun tricks that are used in a lot of different kinds of runs. The reason he's going up to Lost Woods here is he needs bugs. It's too far away to get a fish. Fairies are... I don't know why there's a ferry nearby, and it's way too risky, because you might just use the ferry by accident. But right here, in this little thing, there's bugs. And bugs are going to work. Because if he lets go of those bugs, and then after he lets them go, picks them back up, he's got the bottle in his hand. Like right now he has the sword in his hand. Now before that, here's the waterfall west. So that's a super slide off of the waterfall there that lets you go back to the Deku Tree really fast. And that was a big part of the time save, was getting that waterfall west in there. West stands for water extended super slide or something like that. So here he's going to do his B1 skip again and go back down to where Goma was. So now the door that usually closes so that you can't escape the boss fight is gone. Now the first part of this glitch, I'm going to pause it right when he does it, is called Ocarina items. If you backflip, and then while you're in midair, since he's already got the bottle in his hand, press the button for the bottle, and then cancel that by pressing the B button or the sword button or something. Before you land, the game doesn't know what animation to do. It gets confused. So what it did is it defaulted to whatever's the first animation, which happens to be the ocarina. And that allows him, rather than getting lifted off by the warp point there, instead he's still able to control Link. So now if he exits through that door at the exact same time that that warp thing would normally take him away from here, something magical happens. Now you can see him saying, "Oh my god," right there, because he realizes how close to world record pace he is. The amount of time that came off of the world record, I think before this it was 17:55, so he took 8 seconds off, which is unheard of. So because of that, it warps you right to the tower collapse. After you've beaten Ganondorf, and you have to go all the way down the tower and then fight Ganon, so you skip the whole game, all the medallions, all the stones, the trials, the first fight with Ganon, everything. It skips you right to the end. If you guys are interested in how the Ganondorf glitch works, say so in the comments. I'll make another video explaining it. It's really cool, but it's really complicated. But if you're interested in programming computers, games, any of that, it's really kind of cool how it works. So anyways, there's just a little text thing here with Zelda, and then he's going to do a kind of hard trick and then a really hard trick. First trick, he's going to get a super slide off of one of these boulders, so he goes down real fast. But then he needs to clip out of bounds and do what's called a void warp. So what he does here is he clips out of bounds, and he's outside where he's usually supposed to be able to be in Ganon's castle. Like, you can see part of Ganon's castle here, but he's outside of that. So he can skip the whole castle and just do a jump slash and fall down. Now, even though he's out of bounds, when you're playing Ocarina of Time, all the loading zones in a scene are always loaded, even if the textures for the room are not. So he was able to just jump into the loading zone for this last bit at the very end and skip the whole way down the castle. So what he used there was called a void warp, and it's another more complicated glitch. Well, not really similar to the wrong warp, but anyways, so now the castle collapses, and you can see from that live split thing over there that he's 16 seconds ahead of his personal best here, so he's doing really good. Now he's just got to get the final fight with Ganon, and here, he's a child. Normally you're an adult for this, and you have the Master Sword. So when Ganon knocks his sword away, the Master Sword's going to be thrown away, even though you never had it, and land next to Zelda. And then when he gets it back, as soon as he picks it up, it becomes the Kokiri Sword again, because there's no animation for Link to hold the Master Sword as a child. So this is where Zelda says, "Oh, it's finally over," and you're like, "Nah, it's never that easy." So to do this fight really fast, he's going to get that infinite sword glitch again, where he interrupts the crouch stab, and he's locked in that state of swinging the sword, so he'll be able to just walk up to Ganon's tail and have the sword touch it, and he'll just keep taking hits over and over, and he'll be able to complete this fight really, really fast. Now, I don't know who discovered which ones, but a lot of the glitches in this video, Skater either discovered or contributed greatly to figuring out how to use them for this run. He's actually done a lot of the research that's gone into this, so when he took the world record, it was actually really cool to see, because he's put so much time into this, and now he's the one holding the world record. Not that the other speedrunners haven't put a lot of time into it, but either way. Particularly, I do know that the method where he was in the Deku Tree and he landed on top of the Skulltula, I'm pretty sure he found that one. And I also know that the item manipulation glitch that they use, where they turn the nut into a nut in a bottle, he played a large part in the development of that one as well, if I'm correct in my information. So say, there's the Master Sword. As soon as he gets it, it becomes the Kid Sword again. He gets his infinite sword glitch. You can see it kind of glows weird. And he actually holds a Deku stick because it's a little longer and it's easier to get the hits on him. And you can deal out massive amounts of damage and finish bosses off really fast with that. So he gets it here, and Zelda holds him down, and he's getting ready for the last hit on Ganon. And there you go. That's the world record. This uses the real-time, or that was the world record. It's actually 2 seconds faster now. You should definitely check out that video. This uses the real-time attack timing, which is not the same as a lot of speedruns. A lot of speedruns go from like power on to power off or something like that. But with Zelda, the rule is usually from the point you select the file is when you start the time, and you end it with last hit on the final boss on Ganon. So that was the world record at the time. As you could tell from that little video of him in the back, he is super excited because he's been working on this for a really long time. It was really cool. But yeah, that's the Ocarina of Time any % run. A lot of work and hours and time has gone into creating this, figuring out all these glitches and everything. A lot of people look at those speedruns and they think, oh, they just skipped the whole game. What's the point of that? Well, they're playing a different game at this point. They're playing speedrun. They're not playing Zelda as Miyamoto envisioned it. They're playing a whole new game within Zelda. There were a lot of complicated glitches in there, particularly Wrong Warp. If you guys are interested or you want to know more about any of these in depth, let me know. I'll make some more videos explaining how these different things work. I can't show you tutorials. You'll have to find other videos for that because I can't actually do most of them. I just don't have the time to put that much practice into it. The timing on so many of these tricks is you have to be at exactly the right frame, meaning exactly the right 30th of a second or so. And I'm just not that good. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. You should definitely check out the current world record video. It's by Skater, same guy. Just Google it. It'll come up. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.